Hello everyone, it's me, your Vijay sir, and welcome to your social science class.
Children, today we are going to learn lesson 1, the Mesopotamian civilization, class 6th, history. Before we get to start the lesson, children, let's have a quick review. What is history and some terms related to history. Children, you all know about early man. You know about the kings and rulers. And you also studied about the independence struggle. So all this is history. So I can say that history is the study of the past. Look closely at the word history, children. It contains the word story. History, therefore, is the story of people who lived in early times, children. History records and explains past events in a chronological order, following the order in which events occurred. Herodotus is called the father of history. Children, now let's see who are historians. A historian is a person who studies and writes about the past. Who are archaeologists? Is a person who studies human history and prehistory through the excavations of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. Sources of history. The clues that help historians and the archaeologists to learn about the past are called sources of history, children. Look at the chart given below, children. You have two different sources, that is archaeological sources and literary sources. Under archaeological sources, you have monuments, inscriptions, coins, and artifacts. Inscriptions here include written records engraved on rocks, pillars, temples, walls of caves, and on clay and copper tablets. Literary sources include religious and secular works. Oral tradition, beliefs, customs, folk tales, songs, and poems are passed orally from one generation to the next. This is called oral tradition. It is a source of information for historians. Our epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, were transmitted orally for several hundreds of years before they were written down, children. So, all these are the sources of history, children, to know about our past. Time in history is expressed in BC, before Christ, and AD, Anno Domini. Nowadays, most historians use BCE instead of BC, children, and CE instead of AD. BCE stands for before the Common Era, and CE stands for Common Era. The years expressed in BCE are counted backwards, children. For example, 100 BCE comes before 99 BCE. The years expressed in CE are counted forward. For example, 99 CE comes before 100 CE. We will be using all this terminology in the lessons coming, children. So, get familiar with this terminology. Children, now let's see the timeline of ancient civilizations, starting with the Mesopotamian civilization, 3600 BCE or BC, children, the Egyptian civilization, 3200 BC, and the ancient Indian or Indus Valley civilization, 2800 BC, and the ancient China or Chinese civilization, 1800 BC. Children, you will learn about these four civilizations in grade 6. Observe the map, children. Most of the early civilizations grew up near the rivers. The Mesopotamian civilization grew up near Tigris and Euphrates. The Egyptian civilization came up near River Nile, children. And the Indus Valley civilization came up near River Indus. And the Chinese civilization came up near River Huanghe. All these civilizations came up near rivers because the rivers provided sufficient water to support large settlements. The land near the rivers was very fertile, people could grow more crops. The rivers served as a means of transport. The early river valley civilizations used bronze, children. You know that bronze is a mixture of copper and tin to make tools and implements. Hence, they were also called the Bronze Age civilizations. Children, before we get into learn the lesson, the Mesopotamian civilization, first let us understand what is a civilization. The word civilization comes from the Latin word civitas, which means city. A civilization has the following features. People live in towns and cities. Trade exists between far and flung. Far and flung mean children, distant or remote areas. Written language exists which help in transfer of knowledge children. Social and economic divisions exist in society. Some groups are more powerful than the others. A government exists to maintain law and order. Different religious beliefs and art forms exist. Mesopotamia is a land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers children. It is located in modern day Iraq. It is called the cradle of civilization because it is the first place where towns and cities developed. It included the regions of Sumer, Akkad, Babylonia and Assyria. Now let's discuss the sources to know about the Mesopotamian civilization. Children, can anyone guess what could be the two sources? Yes, you're right. It can be archaeological and literary sources. The archaeological sources include the great ziggurat at Ur and seals. Do you know what is a ziggurat, children? It is like a temple, children, which is dedicated to the moon god Nana. A seal is like a modern day stamp, children, which is used to stamp on clay or wax. The literary sources include such as the Epic of Gilgamesh. He wrote many poems and stories, children. In those days, there is no paper, so he wrote it on a clay tablet. Both archaeological and literary sources helped us to know about the Mesopotamian civilization, children. Around the 3rd millennium BCE, a civilization developed under the Sumerians. This was the world's first civilization. Now let's see the Mesopotamian cities, children. Many cities such as Eridu, Kish, Uruk, Lagash and Ur have been excavated. Ur was the biggest city. It was divided into 3 parts: the sacred area, the walled city on a mount, and the outer town. The sacred area consists of a tower called ziggurat, on top of which was a temple dedicated to the patron god of the city. Offices and storehouses were also situated in the sacred area. The walled city and the outer town were residential areas. Mud brick houses of different sizes have been found here. Each house consisted of a central courtyard with rooms around it.